Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today's video is a review of the Anastasia Subculture palette. I know everyone's been going crazy on YouTube over this. It's been a huge conspiracy. I'm sure all of you guys know what this looks like by now. It's been all over the internet. It is just blowing up. Really gorgeous shades, really unique. They're really grungy, edgy, just like really cool shades. I've used it a few times now, and you guys would have seen in my full face of first impressions that I did for you the other day that I tried this out for the first time on camera, and since then I've probably used it 3 or 4 times. I'm just not someone who ever really reaches for green eyeshadows, so I wasn't sure if me not being able to blend them properly was a fault on my part because I just don't really use those shades, or if it was just the formula of the eyeshadows or something like that. So I really wanted to do a take 2 for you guys today, try it out on camera again and use the warm tones in the palette, use shades that I'm used to working with. This palette is supposed to be the sister palette to the Modern Renaissance. So this is Subculture and this is Modern Renaissance. Modern Renaissance is honestly my ride or die palette, literally my favorite palette. Just such a good palette, really nice eyeshadows, the colors are amazing, everything just works well together. Like I have no problems using this palette. It's just one of my absolute favorites. I cannot say enough good things about it. I got this on the first release, so as soon as it came out I bought it straight away, and that's exactly what I did with the Subculture palette. I got this on the first release as well, and I did pay for it with my own money. This retails for $42 US, so Australian that's probably like $60, and then when you add on shipping's usually like $17 or something US, so it probably ended up being like $70 to $80 Australian for me to purchase this palette. I'm not on the Anastasia PR list, and I do purchase all of my Anastasia products myself. However, that is not waiving like my opinion in any way, shape or form. I would never just be like salty towards a brand and like intentionally bash a product and be a little bitch just because I wasn't on their PR list. I would love to be on their PR, like as if I wouldn't, but I'm not gonna not purchase their products. Like I'm a huge Anastasia fan. I use their products in a lot of my videos. They are just literally one of the most respected kind of brands in the makeup industry. And at the end of the day, guys, it is just an eyeshadow palette. Like it's really not that serious. It's just makeup. Let's all just remember that we're basically talking hairless monkeys on a rock floating through space, slowly dying. So like let's just remember that and not get too dramatic about it. These are meant to be sister palettes, so the idea was that the Subculture palette isn't intended to take anything away from the Modern Renaissance. It's more just to be like in addition to the Modern Renaissance. So I think the idea is that Norvina kind of wanted us to use them in conjunction with each other, and she wanted these to be the only 2 palettes that you kind of need when you're traveling. So I can definitely see that. If I was traveling, these would definitely be all that I need. It's a really good range of colors, and to be honest, these are the only kind of colors that I ever use, and I do just kind of live out of this palette. They are very powdery. I'm just going to be honest with you guys now. I know a lot of people have been talking about the kickback in the palette, but to be honest, I had the same amount of kickback with my Modern Renaissance one, and that's probably why I've hit pan on tempera and I haven't really used it that much. I think the fact that everyone's talking about the kickback is just because a couple of people did, and then everyone starts to like notice it, and then everyone's just mentioning it, so I wouldn't really worry about that too much. And as long as you're someone who's not really like digging your brush in there and swirling it in, I think you'll be fine. Like I said, these are a little bit powdery and they are very pigmented. You only want to pick up the smallest amount by just lightly tapping your brush in there once and then tapping off the excess. So you really don't want to pick up that much. Even so, I found when I was doing that, I was still just getting too much. Destiny was like an absolute nightmare for me to try and blend. I will link that tutorial in the description box down below for you guys, and you'll be able to see on camera. I did cut out a lot of the negative parts because I didn't want to be negative Nancy in that whole video. But you guys can clearly see that it got really patchy and it was just completely lifting off my eyelid. And then I had the same sort of problem with Untamed and Axis. Axis was probably the worst because as soon as I put it down, it looked lighter. I started to blend, it would stick in certain areas, get darker, and then completely come off the area where I initially put it, so it was just really weird. And then I had the same experience with fudge as well. You guys can see in the outer corner of my eye, it's just a mess right now. It's as if the eyeshadow doesn't want to stick to my eyelid, and I just, for the life of me, I cannot figure out what it is. I found All Star wasn't too bad. It was lifting off a little bit, but I already had fudge down, so I don't know if it's because of that. Reality was exceptionally hard to blend. Other than those dark shades, the light shades are really nice to work with. I really like Dawn, New Wave, and Edge. Edge is really cool. It's like that mustardy desert sand sort of makeup geek kind of color. It's a lot darker than it looks in the pan. I found that with all of these shades, they come out a lot darker. So what you see in the pan isn't necessarily what is going to be on your eyes, which I found a little bit strange, but I don't really mind too much because I actually prefer Edge when I apply it to my eyes, and it does look darker. I know a lot of people have been saying that they oxidize. I don't really know if eyeshadows can oxidize or not. I don't know that much about making eyeshadows. I didn't find that they've oxidized on me or anything. I just found that they look darker when you apply them to the lid. When it comes to the shimmery shades, these are just the weirdest formula I've ever used. It's as if they're a putty, so they kind of seal themselves, and then when you dig your brush in there, they kind of flake up, but nothing gets picked up on your brush. I found the only kind of brushes that work with these are these flat concealer type of ones. And even then, they just, I don't know, it just would not pick up that much color. So I think you'd have to use your fingers with these. I can't because I have long nails and I can't really apply shadows to my lids with them. So it's as if someone has just poured water into my eyeshadow pan. Cube has pretty much no pigment. I have that on my inner corners today. Has a really beautiful pink shift to it, but I've just found that it like doesn't pop at all. You can't really see it, and I've kind of put it on the inner corner of my cut crease as well, and it just doesn't really show up. Electric was really nice on the lids. I think it's a really cool shade. It's just the consistency that's really weird. Once you figure out how to apply it, it's fine. And then we have the shade Adorn, which is what is all over my lids today. Really like that one, but again, it was just very strange to apply to the lids. Honestly, nothing like the shimmery shades in the Modern Renaissance palette. Primavera is like one of my favorite shades in this palette. I always use that for like an inner corner highlight, and it's just a really different consistency. So this palette was marketed the exact same way as the Modern Renaissance palette. So I was kind of expecting the eyeshadows to be on par, pretty much the same. I wasn't expecting them to be as they are. I'm pretty sure Novena released a statement saying like that it was like a pressed pigment and that these were pressed really softly, so you just can't dig your brush into them or anything like that. I could be totally wrong, so like I'm just repeating kind of what I've heard and like read and stuff. My kind of issue with this is I didn't know this was going to be like a pressed pigment. I thought it was just going to be the exact same as the Modern Renaissance, just different colors. So it's kind of frustrating that this wasn't marketed as how they've come out and explained it to be now. There wasn't really any guidelines on how to use it. There was nothing like that, you know what I mean? So like now for Anastasia to kind of say like, hey, this is how you guys have to use the palette, I wish that like the everyday consumer knew that before they purchased the palette, because $42 is a lot of money to spend on eyeshadows that you're anticipating to be the same as the palette that it's described to be like, but in reality they're different and you have to use them a certain way. And basically it's kind of like only makeup artists can use this palette, which is kind of weird to me, because it's like, why would you put it on the market and for sale for regular consumers to buy, people who are not makeup artists, if you only intend this to be artistry used? I don't know, I just found that a little bit funny. So I would have just liked a little bit more disclosure before this palette came out, because I honestly wouldn't have purchased it, to be 100 with you guys. To sum everything up, I just don't think this palette is consumer friendly, and to be honest, I would not recommend you guys to go out and purchase it. It's just not easy to use for the everyday person, and I think when you're coming out with an eyeshadow palette, You have to think about the audience that you're marketing to. Because so many just everyday individuals bought the Modern Renaissance palette, I know a lot of people that aren't even really into makeup that much who purchased the Modern Renaissance palette. So it's reaching a really large audience, not just makeup lovers, and not just makeup artists. It's reaching people who just want an eyeshadow palette and they see it and they're like, that's pretty, I'll get it. So yeah, I think like that has to be taken into account when you're launching a product and claiming it to be the sister palette to another palette that's just done really, really well. You can't then come out and say like, this is like an artistry palette, like you have to use it a certain way. Here's a list of how to use every single shade. Like here's all these guidelines and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, it's just, it doesn't sit well with me. I honestly don't think this is consumer friendly. It's just, when you come out with a palette, it needs to be easily used for everyone, no matter your level or experience with makeup. An eyeshadow should be easy to blend. I do want to learn how to use this, but that's the thing with user-friendly and consumer-friendly products. I shouldn't have to learn how to use this. I should just be able to use it, and it should just blend. It shouldn't patch off and completely just not stick to some areas and then really latch on to others. It's just like there's some kind of issue with it. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just really, really hard to use basically. That is it for like my review portion of this video. Sorry to be negative Nancy, just wanted to give you guys my opinion. If you guys want to see like how the eyeshadows work, see them in action, blending, how I achieve this look, all that sort of stuff, and then definitely stay tuned and keep watching. So as per usual, I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape to prime my eyelids, just so we have a nice base down. I'm using the shade Light Sand, because I finally got another color, and I'm so excited. And then I'm just going to use my Sigma Bake Precision P89 blush brush to blend it out. I don't usually use this brush, but like, it was in front of me, so. Because there isn't a like lid sort of setting shade, like a matte brow bone highlight kind of shade, I'm just going to use a little bit of translucent powder just so that concealer doesn't slip and slide anywhere, we don't get any creasing. And this is going to really help when we're blending out other eyeshadows on top. I always recommend setting your eyelid primer or concealer or whatever you use. So I'm going to start off with the shade Dawn, which is the same shade that I started off with last time. And I'm just using my Sigma E40 brush to blend this into the crease. This is going to be our transition shade. You guys can use the code Kaseyrayton to get 10% off Sigma if you want to get anything. That is an affiliate code, so if you're not comfortable using an affiliate code, that's totes cool. You definitely don't have to. I've got all of my brushes linked in the description box for you guys as well. And they are affiliate links, so if you use my code or the links, I do make a commission from that. But if you like don't want me to make any bank, then just Google it. You can like just Google the brush names and they will come up, and yeah, totes up to you guys. I'm just being transparent if you didn't catch that. So this is what the color is looking like after going in several times and building it up. I didn't want to go in too heavy to start off with, so I did just go in slowly and build it up as I went. I tried to only dip my brush in once and just really, really lightly. When I was using the palette the other day and I filmed that other tutorial for you guys, I didn't have a problem with this shade and the yellows that I used. They pretty much blended really seamlessly. Maybe like a little bit of a line, but there wasn't any patching or any of the struggles that I had with the green shadows. So now I'm going to take the shade Edge, which is like the mustard yellow shade from the palette, and I'm kind of just going to blend that just a tiny little bit lower than where we have Dawn. So essentially in the same area, but I'm just not going to drag it as high. I just want a little bit of like that mustardy, grungy sort of tone in the crease area. And I'm going to take that on my Airbrush Blender F63 brush. Just start blending that into the crease, basically just laying down the product, and then I'm going to go back in with my tapered blending E40 brush to seamlessly blend that all together. Okay, so I definitely have some weird kind of line going on there. I noticed it the other day when I was filming that tutorial, but I just didn't notice it as much because I didn't go in as heavy with the eyeshadows. So it's really hard. It's like you have to be really light-handed and you have to go in so gradually to build them up. Otherwise they just, it's so strange. They just won't really blend that well. When you swatch Edge, it's like a light mustard kind of yellow, and then look at it on my eyes. It's like really, really dark. And the same with Dawn. Like Dawn looks like it would be a really light transition shade, kind of like Beaches and Cream from Makeup Geek. But when you put it on the eyes, it's like they get darker. It's really strange. I'm definitely not complaining because I actually kind of like that edge goes darker. I like this sort of like camel desert sands from Makeup Geek sort of poopy brown shade. So now I'm going in with New Wave, which is the orangey sort of shade from the palette. Again, this one gets a lot darker when you start applying it to the lid. So we're just going to place this right into the crease and on the outer corner of the eye. So first, just taking that Airbrush Blender F63 brush again and just kind of building up that color into the crease. And then I'm going back in with my E40 to blend and just add a little bit onto the outer corner. This one's blending out really nicely. So this is the same sort of thing as with my last tutorial when I did my first impressions using this palette. Yeah, so far no like major problems with these transition sort of orangey warm tone kind of shades in the palette. So I'm now going in with the shade Fudge, which is the warm brown from the palette. I'm just taking this on my Sigma E55 eye shading brush. It's like a sort of flat, dense packing kind of brush, and I'm going to start packing this on the outer corner of the eye, and then we're going to go back in with a combination of the F63 and the E40 brush to blend these out. What the heck? Where is that coming from? What the heck? What the fuck? Did you guys see that? I didn't pick up a fucking black shade. Fucking hell, this looks so shit on this side. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see like how patchy that has gotten. It's kind of pulled off in that sort of crease region, and then it's dark here, and then like some eyeshadow stuck here. I don't really know. And then this side like turned out really nice, but I did the exact same thing on both eyes, so I'm not really sure what I've done. I'm just taking a different brush now. This is the E32. These are all Sigma brushes, by the way. These are the ones I use in like all my videos. I'm just gonna put it like that and then go back in with the F63 and just blend the edges. Yeah, see, that worked out so much better. So I'm just going back in with a little bit of New Wave. I'm just gonna try and like cover that bit up. I'm using like the lightest hand ever. Okay, this eye looks like phenomenal. And then this one is like crazy. What have I done? Okay, I'm gonna go in with the shade All Star. I'm just gonna use that same E32 brush, but I'm just gonna dust it up on my pants because I'm disgusting. Did it just get lighter? I swear it's getting lighter, like right here. Fucking hell. It's just like they start to, like they stop sticking on your lid. It's the weirdest thing ever. There is like a full like line here now. So I'm going in with Rowdy now, which is the darkest shade from the palette. I didn't want to go like this dark, but I have to because it's really light right here. It's like darker and then light, and it's the same thing that happened to me last time. I just don't like understand what's going on. So I'm just gonna try and like cover that up, and I really want this eyeshadow look to turn out nice. So I'm just going back in with that E32 brush to place this down, and then I don't know what brush I'm gonna use to blend it out. We'll just trial and error, but I will leave it on the screen for you guys. This has gotten so dark and muddy, and I really don't understand it because these orangey and purple shades should work together. I've used oranges and purples together like 1,000 times over, like so many times, and I have never ever gotten this weird kind of black color that's there ever in my entire life, regardless of like whatever color theory says, you know what I mean, and mixing colors and all that sort of stuff. With like my Tarte eyeshadow palettes, when I'm using like my Makeup Geek ones, I've got my Makeup Geek ones here right now because I'm so tempted to take this look off and just do it with my Makeup Geek. But I've used like these sort of shades, like this one Desert Sands, this one is Morocco. I've used like them together like 1,000 times over, and they blend seamlessly. And I've used them with like Americano and Bitten, and they blend, you know what I mean? So I don't understand why Fudge, All Star, New Wave, Edge, and Dawn are blending like this and kind of creating a new color, because that just has never happened to me in my entire life with blending eyeshadows. At this point, I honestly think that's as good as I can get it. It looks pretty fucking bad, But I really don't want to touch these outer corners anymore because the color is just pulling off and it's just an absolute disaster. So I'm going to go in with my Tarte Shape Tape again, and we're going to cut the crease on the inner corners. What I like to do when I'm doing a cut crease, if you guys can see how some of the concealer has just transferred just here, I'll kind of look up at the camera and then look back down, and wherever that concealer has touched, that's where I'll take my cut crease up to. So if you guys have hooded eyes, hopefully that helps. I did find that the eyeshadow was blending with the concealer. Like, there's just so much eyeshadow on my lids like right now that it was just kind of, the eyeshadow's kind of soaked it up on this outer corner, and it's just so weird. It's almost as if these eyeshadows are so dry that they kind of absorb any moisture on your skin. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if like I'm onto something there or if I'm just talking out of my crack hole. I'm now going in with the shade Adorn, which is like the bronzy shade from the palette. And I'm pretty much just doing the same thing that I did the other day, and basically just trying to cover up this mess of the mattes with a shimmer. I'm just taking that on my E54 brush from Sigma and essentially placing over the exact spot that we did the cut crease concealer with, and then I'm going to start blending it, trying to blend it over top of these mattes in the outer corner, just ever so slightly so everything is seamless and you guys can see I'm getting a fucking line. I just don't understand why that's happening. So the eyeshadow that I'm picking up on this brush, the shimmer shade, is not sticking past the line of concealer. Instead, it's pulling off the other eyeshadow, like the matte shade that we already have down. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like once the eyeshadow's there, it shouldn't fucking move. It should stay there. I didn't even touch there. Are you joking? Is this like an actual fucking joke right now? Like, are you serious? Why is that happening? What is with this formula? Look at Adorn. It is like just completely just crumbling apart. Look when you like push into it. It like fully molds. It's just like a weird fucking putty. No matter what I do with this outer corner, I just cannot seem to cover up this weird patching that I've got. Like, it just keeps coming off. I'm gonna try putting a bit of cube onto like the, fuck, these are just the worst to pick up. Like, it's as if someone poured water into my eyeshadows. Like in the shimmer ones, it's literally like someone's poured water in there. This is so not the look that I planned on doing. I wanted to do like a matte look and then have like some glitter in the crease. I mean, not the crease, in the inner corner, but this is what we have. I'm done. I'm gonna take my tape off. I'm fucking done. Alright guys, so I finished my makeup and I'm back. We're going to finish off my face by doing the lower lash line. I'm actually really liking how the eyeshadow looks now that I finished the rest of my face. It still looks kind of crazy over here, but it's not as bad as I initially thought it was when I just had my eyes on. So I mean, it's still really atrocious, but like once you have a full face of makeup on, I feel like everything kind of comes together. So I'm going to take the shade All Star on my Sigma E55 brush. I'm going to pack this along the lower lash line, and then just with that same brush, I've just dusted it off, and I'm just going to go back in and start swiping from side to side just to start blending out that shade. So where my brush is hitting, I don't know if you guys can see, but where this brush is hitting the other eyeshadow from the top lid on the outer corner, it's pulling it off. So like from me swiping backwards and forwards to blend, it's literally pulling off the eye. Oh my god, I just went in with more to cover it up and it's just completely gone. What the heck? So I had to go in with a little bit of Rowdy on the outer corners again to try and cover up where I was blending. So I'm just taking a little bit of that underneath the outer corners of the lower lash line as well, just to connect everything. Fucking looks disgusting. Like, what is... is ridiculous. I was literally just saying that I liked this as well. What's wrong with me? Wow, just wow. So now I'm taking my E34 brush from Sigma and I'm just gonna take a New Wave and just smudge a little bit of this underneath those purpley shades that we put on the lower lash line. I'm actually gonna take a little bit of Roxy. I'm just kind of blending like every single color together on this lower lash line. Lower lash lines are easy, you know what I mean? You just like slap it on there and call it a day. Alright, I'm gonna leave it at that and I'm just gonna take Cube and dunk that on the inner corner. Wow, it's just terrible. Like, what is it even there? Cube's actually really pretty. It's just not, like, I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. It doesn't, it's got a really cool pink shift to it, but it just doesn't show up. It's just not pigmented enough. And then all these other ones are like too pigmented. It's like a really pretty look. I actually really like how it came out. It's just the eyeshadows, man. Do not love. So I just applied some lipstick quickly. I'm wearing the shade of Rum Punch in the new Anastasia matte lipsticks that they came out with. I actually really like these. I think they're really nice. They are very matte, but they don't feel dry and they don't really tug on the lips. So defs are like them, and I'm like obsessed with this shade. I think it's really cool and really grungy. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial, you guys, and this review of the Subculture palette. Culture? I don't know why I said it like that. Yeah, just like my final overall thoughts is that I just really don't like this palette. I'll just give it to you guys straight. It's just is like just a big miss for me. Just really hard to blend. I love the shades. Like, I really wanted to love this palette so much. I was just really excited to have them and then just super let down with how they blended. The formula, the consistency, how they applied to the lids, just the fact that they just patch off and just, it's just so strange to me. I think I might even try and sort out some dupes for you guys, because I really want to find dupes of these kind of colors. I already have a couple in my collection, but I want to find dupes for the whole palette. Overall, I just would say pass on this palette if you are a regular makeup user and lover. If you're more experienced than me, maybe you'll be okay with this palette. I know there were quite a few people that were like really liking it, and if you go on Anastasia's Instagram page, you'll see tons of really beautiful looks that people have created with this palette. So it might just be me wanting to do like really dark smoky kind of looks, and it's just not really working for that. I don't really know, but yeah, overall I would just say give this palette a skip, guys. Anyway, that's it for this video, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We're nearly on 90,000 subscribers and it's just insane to me. I've been doing like YouTube for 2 years or something now, so it's crazy that it's grown this much. It means the world to me. I love you guys, especially those of you who comment all the time and we always chat back and forth in the comments. You guys are the MVPs. Ride or die, love you to death. But yeah, that's it. I will see you guys in my next video. This curl is gone. It's gone. It's completely gone. I look beautiful. Oh, my brushes are dirty. Where'd the other brush go? Jesus Christ. Times and apparently these. What was that? Looks like donkey balls. So